We'll continue the hearing here at the Centennial Memorial Pavilion with questioning after your testimony. But we start with on my far right with Shika Fumakone. I also want to, before he testified, to introduce the just coming in Commissioner Martha Washington, and Commissioner John H. Stewart, and then the chairman who came in while you were doing your testimony. Thank you so much. Jerome Foydia.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I wouldn't know to whom, but I went at the TRC office and I wrote a statement and I signed. Yes. I'm not, can you be a little bit audible because I'm not understanding.
Not given to us commissioners today, but as
excuse me.
No, I want a record to reflect, not for you, that statement was not presented to us among your file that they gave today, that you gave a statement. So I would like for you to, it was not given, that's why I sent for my file. I would like for you to talk on what was the statement that you gave to the statement taker that you took on an oath. Because it's not on the files, it's not among the document that was presented to us commissioners. So, but it was given and was taken. So I want a record to reflect that the investigators in the inquiry unit did not present that to the commissioners because y'all don't have it, and the time he came, you'll give it, so the record must reflect. So could you say what on your statement that you made that day, on your statement taken that you gave to the statement taker?
I wouldn't
that
remember,
you signed.
I wouldn't remember word for word, but what I said to you, relatively, out of those on the statement that I did give and that I signed. So unless you want me to testify, then that is the only statement that I wrote and that I signed.
I just want a record to reflect that the statement that the witness signed on an oath should be part of his records. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness, for your testimony. And Usas, in your testimony, you talked about your personal experience before becoming part of NPFL. I'm so sorry for that. But then in Buchanan, some people came and testify as to what you did to them while you were in the NPFL, or later to be specific, that you ordered the killing of her son.
speak on that?
Yes.
First of all, I wasn't there to hear that part of the testimony made by alleged a victim, and I don't know about that particular one, and unless you elaborate, but I told you earlier on that during the period under review, I don't remember getting involved in any unwholesome act such as killing, raping, ordering the raping or killing of anyone, or did I witness those things to be carried out. I also told you that the possibilities of those things happening, I don't want to erase it, I don't want to deny it. I knew people, and if anybody did do it, nobody come to me and say, hey, Sundaygar, somebody did something out of your friends or one of these boys with you did it. So I have no idea of such an allegation. So unless that I had an idea, I wouldn't be able to further elaborate.
Because it was alleged that her son became part of LPC.
Oh, look, I tell you what, I was not looking for LPC further. I was not actively fighting war. I was the military police, always within the civilian control area. So anybody looking for fighters like LPC or Ulimo must have been ones who went on the front line and then meeting people and then trying to search for enemies. So unless somebody mistaking me for someone else, it is not me, please.
After you became part of NPFL, where did you go for training?
I didn't take no training. I told you, unless that you did not actually listen to what I was saying, then I have to go over. But I thought you did. I said, when the last time when I was beaten in February, I went to St. John at the gate where I met Winston C. for the second time. And at the time he gave me some soldiers to take away from them what they actually took from the villagers and I. And the villagers decided to get me out of the village because my being there was causing a lot of embarrassment. Then I had to go back to Winston C because I had nowhere to go. And Winston, the only option he gave me at the time was to give me an assignment in Sioux Town. So at that time, it was just a matter of survival, so there was no training business in it. And the period of time there was between 3, 4 to 5 months. I don't know precisely how long. So then I didn't take no training.
Now, could you comment on the various positions you held while you were in the NPFL?
Yes, I was a military police commander in Sioux Town, and then later became a radio operator.
You served as a commander as well?
Yeah, military police. I told you, yes, commander in Sioux Town. Until the time we left on Grand Bassa County to go in Nima and came back. I mean, Bone County and came back. I was still there until when I moved to Ase Inua Town. Then I became a radio operator.
So while you were a commander, how many men served under you?
There was not a consistent number of people. Sometimes there would be 10, sometimes 8, sometimes 5. And sometimes they increase because consistency was not a part of the soldier being assigned with people. Some of them found that they could go places that they could relax and they leave. Other people were always coming and going. So unless at a particular place, I didn't have a consistent number of people being with me.
But according to the interview we did with the inquiry, that you had 9 persons at one point in time. Is that correct?
Yes, that was in Sioux Town area. The Sioux Town area, we had about 7, 8 to 9 people. I mentioned that earlier on. And those were the people who were with me in Sioux Town before the NPFL retreated from Grand Bassa County.
Did all of them survive
No, other than didn't survive. Other than didn't survive.
So what happened to some of them?
Survival means you die. If you didn't survive, it means you die. So that what happened to some
Did
of
they
them?
have you on the war front? They went on you sent them on assignment or what?
If you want to know how they did die, if that is the question, then I can answer it. What happened is when Johnson Liema gave the instruction that every little unit and major commanders should give 1 or 2 persons, depending on the size of your group. People were giving 20 men, people were giving 15, and I had to give 3. And 3 of them, one was Small Popo, one was J.R., and the other one named, I don't remember anymore. They joined the group to go to Grand Bassa County to enter, but then they went by way of Nima County. And when they entered Nima County, the only information that came back to us was they were killed by the Nima boys. That was their own people. So they were not killed at the front line. It was not only them, hundreds of people got killed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The witness? Can you tell us the year that you enlisted in the MPFL? What year was it?
It was in 1992, late 1992. I wouldn't want to remember, or maybe, no, not that I wouldn't. I don't really remember, but late 1992 or early 1993 between there.
No, I want you to be specific.
Specific, I may not be because I don't remember precisely the time.
How old were you when you enlisted?
I was born 72, and happened between 1992 to 93. I came back 92. Yes.
So you were at the age of reason when you joined the MPFL. You were not a child.
Did you say I was at the age of reasoning?
You were at the age of responsibility, not reason, at the age of responsibility and not a child at the time you joined the MPFL.
Well, that opinion is left with you, but I was at the
age of 18 is the age of responsibility.
We are not arguing about age of responsibility and the age of not being responsible. I'm saying that argument or that part of it is left with you to understand whether I was the age of responsibility or not. But precisely, I was more than 18. So then you can decide whether I was at the age of responsibility or not.
But you mentioned in an interview, radio interview, one of the international radio stations, that you were a child soldier.
Well, if you want to bring up that interview, fine, but I made a statement, and I think we should be looking at my statement. You also spoke to the VOA that I was receiving gift from the boy. So I was wondering how you came up with that, because I thought the statement was very reckless, unless you have otherwise proven it I was receiving gift from the boy. So, excuse me, sir. Most besides my being here today, honestly, is to attack the issue and not personality, and to attack the issue professionally and not to argue with you, and to bring up issues that will raise tension, because I would be more than prepared for it. So I would really appreciate were you to speak to me professionally as a commissioner and not to personally, look at the issue, especially the way your question came. I thought it was too provocative.
The witness?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Did you do an interview on VOA after your story came up with the TRC?
Yes, I did an interview that I remember.
Okay, could you please speak to that if you are asked a question on that? Because it's part of our process.
All right. All right. I did an interview with Jim Botte. And Jim Botte wanted to know my side of the story. And I told him my side of the story. And I told Jim Botte that I thought some people were actually finding me guilty before I could even come. Because holding or taking statement is one, and dealing with it with emotion is another. If somebody comes and gives a statement, and whatever they say can be considered a statement, and then the alleged perpetrator can come and be allowed the opportunity of explaining themselves. But when it came up, when Davies said he lied, it became a very big issue in Liberia. But before them, the newspaper and other people were coming, Sundaygar killed babies and put them in the murders. People came and said, look, we didn't say that. And people were saying I was buying a false witness. So when James Boyee called me and interviewed me, I explained to him exactly my role that I played. And he asked me, do you remember what you did? I said, well, I didn't do any wrong as it relates to those allegations that were leveled against me. I did remember saying to him that I was not big enough, but the fact that I said I was brought into the situation as a means of being, being forced, to be a part of the revolution. And I didn't willingly pick up. And I was also a victim. And I should also be considered as a victim, even if someone come and level an allegation against me. Yes, sir.
Let's say in your interview that you were brought in, you didn't know what you were doing. Implying that, just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Implying that you were not at the age of responsibility. And it is very important to our work to know exactly whether you were at the age of responsibility or not. And you said that you were a child. You have said now to us that you were 20 when you enlisted in the MPFL. So can we conclude that you are lying?
Thank you. I was not lying. I was really not lying. Besides, I did not know what I was doing. The word did not know what you were doing mean you don't understand anything at all. At the age of 20, you can be at the age of responsibility, but you could also be a child. So the fact that you were 20 and you got involved in something does not exonerate you from being a child. Being a child is relative. Legally, you are at the age of responsibility. And the term of which I was speaking, I was not saying to the newsman that I did not know what I was doing as being wrongly interpreted by you. So then, from my own explanation to what I told you, I wasn't lying. And I did not intend to lie when I was speaking.
Okay, you said that you did not receive any training when you enlisted in the MPFL. You did not receive any training. Can you just describe to us how did your enlistment procedure go like? They just saw you and grabbed you and forced you, said, come and join us, and they gave you an arm and no training. That's what you mean?
Well, I thought as a commissioner you should be here and on time so that you can listen to people's testimony. And your not being here cannot make me responsible to answer your question, because if you were here, you would have heard and understood what I said. So since you were not here, then I think those who were here could ask the question and I can answer, because I explained how I became a part of the MPFL.
And refrain from being rude.
I would not want to answer your question. I'm not rude, but I thought the word rude, I think you are a little bit emotional, sir. But I could answer the question to people who were here, because if you were not here, sir, then you wouldn't be asking me such a question. And besides, if you read my testimony that I gave to you as a commissioner, then you will actually understand how I became a part of the MPFL. But I'm not being rude, sir.
Where were you assigned after your enlistment into the MPFL? Where are the places where you assigned?
I was in Sultan, sir.
Does the name Diso Town mean anything to you?
Diso Town?
Yes.
If it means something?
Does Diso Town mean anything to you?
I don't know what you mean anything, but I remember Diso Town.
You remember Diso Town?
Yes, sir.
You've been there?
Yes, sir.
You were operating there?
I live in Diso Town, sir.
Boo Town, does it mean anything to you? Boo Town.
I don't remember Boo Town, sir.
You remember Slew Town?
Slew Town, yes, I do.
Does the name Maya Kemu mean anything to you?
Maya Kemu?
Yes.
Except that he came and made he gave a testimony against me. Other than that, it means nothing besides that.
It means nothing besides that?
Yeah, besides the testimony he gave in Bassa County, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, what did he say in that testimony?
Well, according to him, I beat him up with some men and took away his steel mill. That's what he said in the testimony.
He said, you almost drowned him, took away money from him, and took away his steel mill. Do you deny those charges?
Honorable Commissioner Stewart. When people come to the TRC, before I answer your question, treat them with passion, with respect and dignity. Don't treat them with emotion. They question your ability of recommending because sometimes people will perceive that you handle the issue personally, and I thought you were actually doing. Now, you asked me what he said, and I explained. Then you also start to explain what he said. So why didn't you ask the question instead of asking me what he said? You should have just said, he says so, and what is your position? So if you ask me and I explain, and I start somewhere, you start to ask me again, I think it's just actually ridiculous of you. I definitely do. Maya Kemu, and I haven't had any interaction with him as he alleged. And I said during my time of explaining to the commissioner before you arrived that I do not know Maya Kemu. He alleged that I juke knife on his mouth and it made him blind. And because of that, he could not identify me anymore. And I thought that was a lie because he did not know me. That's why he said those things. I didn't take any statement from Maya Kemu. Now, I would like to just say something. If Maya Kemu see, I came from somewhere with Nathaniel Zoga and went straight into the bush and went to him and took him out and brought him. The question you guys did not ask Maya Kemu was, where were his family? Maya Kemu is not a sorcerer to know what will happen the next day. People were always with their family during the time of the war. And if Maya Kemu has children, wives, and the fighter went in the bush, like he said, I didn't know where he was as well. So if I did go and grab Maya Kemu, then where were his wife and children? I asked the question because Maya Kemu said there were no witness, no kind of witness around to prove or to testify to what he was saying because he was the only person. And I thought, that is impossible. Because when the fathers go in the bush to take you from there, somebody must be there. The only witness Maya Kemu claimed to have was somebody from the Motiri compound who he said one time, different time, I put in an ends because he was a war soldier. So, Maya Kemu's story is absolutely false, sir.
Mr. Witness.
Yes, sir.
You recall that the testimony of Mr. Davies.
Yes, sir.
Before the very first hearings, public hearings conducted by this commission, in which he called your name, accusing you of having ordered the raping of his sister. She eventually died. And when that story broke, prior to that time, you had never ever made any comment as to whether you were an MPFF fighter or not. I did not know up until that point. I did not even know you. So it was at that point that I learned that indeed you have been associated with the fighting forces, and how, by virtue of your music that came out that everybody was listening to. Now, after Mr. Davies made that statement, you responded and you denied ever that such incident did happen. As a matter of fact, you say you are not a fighter. You have never been a fighter. This was the VOA. You said that you could never even hurt a fly. And you said also that you went to look for your girlfriend to Compound 3. That's how come the MPFL fighters forcibly conscripted you. But subsequently, You admitted that you were a child soldier. And then, of course, denying the rest of the others. So, were you lying in that interview trying to cover your name when the man asked you?
Thank you, sir. I will remain very calm now because I've got to actually understand the mood you are in and the way you are asking your question. And if I don't remain calm, I think I will not allow my action to exceed my feelings here, because I came to honestly say the truth and nothing but the truth, and to move forward with the reconciliation process of this country that we all can be a part of. If you listen to most of my songs, I didn't sing those songs for nothing. I sang them on purpose. What I've experienced, what I know, what I saw, and what I think can be the way forward for people who live in this country. I am an asset to Liberia. I'm not a liability. The truth about it is, my own involvement is a regrettable thing. It's a past, and I don't want to think about it. I'm going to answer your question, sir. As a commissioner or as a professional person, what you do, but let us refrain from listening to rumors. Because you are like a judge here right now. You see the newspaper articles, you listen to news, you listen to they say, you're going to make a lot of judgment that people are going to question. Now, when I spoke to the Truth FM. It was on January 6th. I was on my way to Switzerland to get equipment that I bought. And then I missed my flight. I came back home. Then I got a call. Somebody called and said, you order people to rape their sister. And I'm like, wow, where? TRC. I said, what? Then I called. And for record's sake, I will appreciate where you two send for that tape. The question I will ask lastly, and that's what you just referred me towards. Do you remember, or were you any part of a warring faction? And I said, yes, I was part of the MPFL, but my position was insignificant. I repeat, I said, yes, I was part of the MPFL. Position was insignificant. I did not say I was never a part of the war. I did not partake into the war. And that is something I will urge that you commissioners here look into very much and critically, because I can't blame you because you're not the only person saying that. A lot of people have asked me. But again, I blame you because you are a commissioner sitting on this board and asking questions. And if you start to ask your question not based on evidence but on hearsay, I think it's very unfortunate. I know you don't have evidence, that's why you're asking hearsay.
So I'm asking you to clarify.
Oh, all right. But you asked, I said you have evidence, that's why.
Now, in the wake of the testimony by Mr. Davies,
yes, sir.
You did an interview and said in that interview that Mr. Sewe lied on you and that he had been bribed by Commissioner Washington to lie on you because she promised to take him to the States. Now, there were several efforts made in the wake of your denial of the accusations by Mr. Davies, whom this commission had not known before, and he made his statement under oath and cried on the day. But yet, you went to the town and you were in the company of this young man. You brought him with you, took him away from the town and had him here in Monrovia. But more than that, you presented another man who you said was his father, which on investigation turned out to not be true. So, can we conclude then that you are deliberately trying to mislead the commission, that you are lying, that this act did not happen?
You know what, Mr. Stewart? if I have my own way, I would recommend remove you from here.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Answer my question.
Now, let me answer the question.
You see, before you go on.
No, Mr. I'm prepared to answer the question.
Just a minute before you go on. Let me remind you that the time when mass killing, rampant killing, gross abuse of human rights, there was a time when all of those took place.
Yes, sir.
That time is now gone.
I know.
Today is the time for reckoning.
Yes.
At that time, you had your own will.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's the will of the Liberian people that you stand here and answer questions and account for your actions.
Thank you.
So please answer those questions.
I will answer the question, but that does not deprive me of my feeling to express it. First of all, you said you didn't have evidence. And so if you did, you wouldn't be asking me. And then when you ask your question, then you say, can we conclude that you have lied? And if you are concluding, it means it's based on evidence. Now, let me answer the question, sir. I remember you saying I went to the town to bring the boy. And let me clarify that from the day of the allegation being made, I've never stepped out of Monrovia to go to that place. My limit has been Buchanan. I'm answering your question. So I did not go in the town as you just said. At no time did I go to Gadwa town or anywhere else. So that is one. Two, you also said I went and brought the boy with me and he stayed in Monrovia for some length of time. Because I never went in a town, I did not bring Davies Silver with me, sir. I'm still answering your question, sir. I'm still answering your question. And I will appreciate where you to be calm and let me answer your questions. I didn't bring him with me, and I did not tell him to say that Madam Washington was the one who coerced him. And thirdly, I remember you saying I had an interview and I sat in the interview, and during the time of the interview, I mentioned that Davies Silver lied because Madam Washington paid him to carry him to the United States. At no point in time in Monrovia that I had an interview, that I sat in an interview and accused Madam Washington of coercing Davies Silver. Davies Silver was the one who said it. So unless you can come and say, yes, this is where you had your interview, and prove it, and because you said I had an interview, Honorable Commissioner, at no time in Monrovia that I had an interview and I called Madam Washington's name or being the one. The only interview I had was with VOA, and I said Madam Washington is trying to personalize the situation because when she got to how you call it, the talk show with T-Max, she said I should come clean and explain because I've gone to the TRC on several occasions and I was explaining that I confessed and that I did extra things. It was also in the New Democrat that sources within the TRC were also giving information on New Democrat that Sundaygar confessed. Another point in time, I understood that when Davies Silver alleged that I did those things to him, I thought as commissioners, you will question the ability, the truthfulness of the testimony. And in doing so, if the man claimed to know me, since he was 10 years at that time, I am a popular figure. The children today will know me. People who did not know me will know. They hear my name and they know who Sundaygar is. So I just felt it was not wise to use my photograph and show Davies Silver is this Sundaygar. I thought it was an attempt to direct the witness. Instead, I would have preferred her using more than one photograph. Say, if you say you remember Sundaygar at the time you were 10, can you choose between these two photographs, which one of them is Sundaygar? So it was based upon that I was talking to her. But I did not tell Madam Washington because I didn't know her and she must have never had any transaction. So it would have been very irresponsible on my part to say Madam Washington did so things, sir.
But there was a talk show, 50-50 talk show, in which some residents who claimed to be relatives of Mr. Silver and knowing the situation appeared on the 50-50 talk show. But you were with these residents, you were seen with these residents before the talk show. It was even reported on Star by David Tagbe on a Sky Radio. As a matter of fact, journalists from the independent media, about almost 10 journalists from the independent media, went to the areas that Mr. Sewe mentioned and found out that Mr. Sewe did in fact tell the truth at the time he made a statement to the commission, and it was reported, the findings were reported in the media, that they all went there. So are you saying that all these people lied on you? That all the residents of the town who admitted yes they were there, this incident happened, and they all lied, ganged up to lie on you?
Now, thank you very much. Here we go again, sir. I'll let you know this, journalist. When the situation was reported, people came from the place and said the story was not true. You guys said Sundaygar paid witnesses to come. But you know, I thought that when people come and say someone did this, and other people come and say no, it's not true. In order to know the truth, what would have been preferable? You bring those people and find out where did they come from, how did they come to say these things are not true, because that's your responsibility. Then you wouldn't be asking me these questions here today. But you assume that the people were lying, and there were 4 witnesses that were being brought and that were brought. At no time did I sit with anybody to say, you'll go and talk for me. But because of the notion that you believe that I did those things, so you ignore my own part of it. I already been presumed guilty from the way even you asking your question. I've been presumed guilty. So everything that came in my favor were considered lies, fabrication, dropped in the trash. And that's not why the TRC is being.
But you were lying.
I'm coming, sir.
You were lying, Mr. Witness. You were lying. It was established. The magistrate of the TRC conducted an investigation, went to the places, and found out that the man you presented as Mr. Davies' father was not his father. His father had been dead. They went to the school and produced the report card of Mr. Davies attesting that Mr. Davies was indeed the Mr. Sewe and not somebody else as he claimed to be. And in furtherance of that, they were charged and they were imprisoned.
All right.
Then you still be telling your lies.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Witness?
Yes, ma'am.
It is now our place right now to come up with a decision as to whether you lied or not.
All right.
Our position at the TRC is to get the truth and to get information from you. And so you don't have to answer to that.
All right, but I think I should answer this last one, man. Please.
If you want to.
Yes.
Thank you.
You mentioned that Davies was charged and incarcerated.
You know that. You're aware of that.
And you mentioned that I presented the man who claimed to be Davies' father.
You are not. Why are you pretending as though this didn't happen? You did this.
All right. But I would like to let you know that you as an institution did not say the truth to the Liberian people. Davies, I understood, was never incarcerated. You misled us by saying Davies was charged and jailed. And Davies was never jailed. You took Davies.
Let me remind you, Mr. Witness, you're making this statement on the oath. There are records here.
Yes.
Prison records.
Yes.
And records from the courts.
Yes.
And Mr. Sewe was imprisoned.
All right.
Are you aware, or you saying you're not aware, or you saying that it's a lie?
I'm not aware because Davies was all around in Monrovia and people saw him. So if a man is charged and the penalty of the crime is supposed to be 6 months or 500, and the man go to jail for half an hour and somebody stain his bone, and you didn't go back to the court at all to follow up the case, then tell me what is your definition of incarceration as it relates to people committing crime and being charged?
Mr.
So
Witness,
that means I'm coming, sir.
Mr. Witness,
I'm coming, sir. Davies was never incarcerated in accordance with the law and went through punishment for whatever crime he may have committed, be it that he lied on me or lied on to the TRC. So the information was misleading to the Liberian people. He was never in jail at any time, and Davies was flying around Monrovia, and you did not go to the court to follow up. And I also understood that the court gave Davies paper. So tell me, what explanation are you giving here?
Mr. Witness.
Yes, sir.
You have already confirmed that you did lie when you said you had never been a fighter before, you could never even hurt a fly. You came back to subsequently admit that yes, you were a fighter.
No,
so
I
how
did-
can you expect that we believe anything else you say when you've been lying from the very onset?
Well, I did not admit to you that I lied, sir.
Just a
I
minute.
told you, I'm coming, Honorable Commissioner. I did not admit to you that I lied. I told you that I did not say I was not part of the revolution. I said I was part of the NPFL, but my position was insignificant. And I challenge you, Commissioner Stewart, get the tape from True FM, listen to it and see if I ever deny or not being a part of the revolution, or if I ever say that I didn't hail gun at all. So I've come to understand that you have a responsibility of recommending. And if you preempt that a witness is guilty until he sits here, and you try to surround all of your judgment to the guiltiness of this witness, then I think you are very, very much wrong, sir.
Commissioner Kubo?
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. 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 Thank you. The witness, thank you very much for your presence and your testimony
Thank you,
thus
sir.
far.
Thank you, sir.
I would just like to ask you also a couple of questions, trying to understand your background and situation.
Yes, sir.
From your testimony, you said that you joined the NPFL around 1992. Is that correct?
Yes,
At the
around
age
there,
of-
sir.
Okay, at the age of 20.
Yes, sir.
How long did you remain as a fighter with the MPFL?
First of all, I said I wouldn't remember, but between late 92 and early 93. So I'm not actually precise as to the year, but that was between there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got involved with the MPFL until after the April 6th, when the MPFL went back into Grand Bassa County. And then when the MPFL went into Grand Bassa County, and I opened up a business, and then I left the MPFL. That was in the end of 96, going to 97 before the election.
Okay.
And that was, disarmament had already taken place and all of that.
So you officially disarmed then?
As a matter of
MPFL
fact, I did not go through any disarmament process. The reason is I did not actually consider myself a fighter, though I was a part of them, and under survival purpose, I did not go through any war fighting and all of that, and I was just finding the opportunity to get out. So going to say, hey, I want to disarm, get through a process of reintegration, because it has to do with your mindset and all of that. So I reintegrated myself. I choose a society that I belong to, and I move forward with my life to do better things. So when it comes to this armament thing, I didn't think I should have been a part of it, so I was never a part of that.
Okay, so you're saying that you did not disarm officially?
No, I did not.
Okay, with the MPFL. Okay, I want to know, the period you're talking about is almost a 4 to 5 year period that you were with the MPFL. My concern is, did you know that this group was a revolutionary group that was set on overthrowing the legitimate government on the ground and putting itself into power over the Liberian people by violence and force of arms?
We all know that.
Okay. So yet you stayed with them for 4 to 5 years. Could you tell me why you found yourself having to remain like that with them? Were you being somehow coerced or under gunpoint or whatever?
Well, looking at or listening to how I became a part should tell you that I had no option. When I started, I said we should remember that there are two kinds of victims. One victim, I repeat, are those who fighters when vandalized the properties, killed them, raped, and carried on all kinds of gruesome acts against them, and they remain with those trauma, those who were lucky to survive. Other victims are people who found themselves, unfortunately, in the area of the fighters, and they were being made and forced to be a part of them. As my situation, I was beaten, I showed the scars to you, I explained that. And I had no choice because let me just take you back to a movie called Rules of Engagement. When Samuel Jackson was sent to Yami, according to the movie, to rescue the ambassador and all of his all of the diplomats there, they were a violence group that were attacking the U.S. embassy. And Samuel Jackson was the commander of that unit, the Marine, and they had one rule: to fire when they are engaged. That was the rule of engagement. That's the name of the movie. And when Samuel Jackson they were there, they saw that small children, people that were considered innocent, had weapons. And they were shooting at the Marines. And at one point, one of the Marines died. And then what he did was, he gave order to whisk them. He was taken to court, sir. And the lawyer was very tough. And the lawyer started to show pictures of people. Are these people the one you say that you whisk? And Samuel Jackson said, look, I know the rule of engagement, but I can't sit back to let another Marine die to live by the rule. If I had not been a part of the MPFL, I wouldn't have played my role that I play today in society. I wouldn't have lived to contribute. Though I joined against my will, but I also thank God that I'm surviving today. I told you earlier on that I regret every minute and time that I spent with the MPFL, and I apologize for being a part of the MPFL as it relates to my role. So I was not proud, and I'm not still proud to walk around like my head on my shoulder and say, yeah, it was a good thing. But sir, that was the only option I had. And I'm not the only person. Many people fly in the street today in other parts of the world who found themselves around the MPFL had no option but to be a part just to survive. The fact that I knew of who they were, but I still had to survive.
Thank you. Did you ever make an attempt to escape during the 5 years you were with them?
Where are you going to escape?
Did you ever make an attempt?
There was nowhere to escape, so I couldn't make any attempt.
So you didn't make any attempt?
No.
So in essence, you accepted your lot and just followed along with all activities. Next.
All activities? What do you mean when you say all activities, sir?
Well, whatever activities you did while you were there for the 5 years, and whatever activities the MPFL did to the Liberian people, innocent Liberian people, during those 5 years.
Well, that depends where I was, but I was there, and I always wanted to come out. It's like wanting to leave an unwanted relationship. It is hard to leave an unwanted relationship than to leave a wanted one. You always want to leave, but you can't get out because you get stuck up. And at the MPFL, there was no way you could get out, because if you went to Banga, you would be considered an AWOL soldier and ill-treated. If you went to Kakata, you still have the same problem. And if you went to Bikano, where no one could have, so I was stuck up to the day. Excuse me, sir. Up to the day when I went to Bikano, then I finally found myself out.
Okay, we understand, but we also have had many testimonies of people who did escape. But we respect your statement.
Thank you.
Next, you started your testimony with a love story, informing us of how you were forced into the MPFL.
Wait for what, sir?
A story of a love relationship between you and your girlfriend.
Thank you, sir.
So, could you tell us whatever happened to this girlfriend of yours? Is she still alive?
She lives in Bikano. She's still alive.
Okay. And her parents and people who you were with at that time, they're still alive? Did any of them die as a result of the war?
Well, I wouldn't know, but the mother is still alive and the stepfather is still alive. And so she is still alive, but other members of the family, I wouldn't know if they died because we're not together any longer, and my ears are not with the family, but I know that the mother is still alive.
Okay. What about the commander, Winston Siki or whoever?
Excuse me, sir?
The commander that you mentioned.
He was Winston C.
C. Okay. What about him? What's his situation? Is he still alive?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Okay. You first heard about the possibility of your linkage with the Liberian Civil War through the TRC, you said through your testimony at least, on January 8th, right? 2008, while you were in America. Is that correct?
I thought it was January 6th. I may not be correct. I stand to be corrected.
Okay, well, the paper said 8, but no problem, 6. All right, and when did you return to Liberia?
I returned 3 or 4 days later, the 29th. I don't actually remember too, but I came back a week plus or before a week later.
Okay, so if we add a week to the 6th, you're talking about the 13th or 14th, huh?
You can say that.
Okay. And when did you give your testimony to the TRC?
I gave my testimony, it was in 3 days upon my arrival. When I got there, I received a letter that I should go at the TRC. I was actually willing, it was coincidental. And the letter came and I went to them and said, look, I've just come, I think it's very early. Can you give me like 2 more days so that I can, get myself together? Because they gave me the letter and said I should go the next day. And I'm like, can I have like 1 or 2 extra days? And they said yes, and I went and gave my testimony. But it's reflected on the document, the day I gave my testimony.
So the date of the 21st, you confirm that that is the day you gave your testimony to the TRC, January?
If that is the date on the document, then that was the date I gave my testimony.
Well, suppose it was the 18th. Would you say yes? So whatever date is there, you accept that that is the date? You don't want to tell us clearly what that date was?
But I have to tell you clearly if I remember. Okay. And if I don't, then I have to be clear about it. Because what if I say on the 20th and it's not the 20th, then I'll be lying, sir.
Okay. I notice a lot of your testimonies you talk about memory problems. You say, I don't remember. I'm sorry to Liberian people, but I don't remember this or that. You never clearly and vividly seem to deny anything. So I'm concerned, do you have a memory problem? It's during this war. Did you ever go through psychosocial stress or treatment that made it difficult for you to remember a lot of the painful things?
I did not go through, and then did you say therapeutic or psycho? But it is a clear evidence that everybody who was part of the war, one way or the other, has a psychosocial problem. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't discover what mine is unless maybe it's what we discover right now. But it's not done with an intent to say, hey, I don't remember, and deliberately deny what I know and what I don't. Even sometimes I forget what is dear to me. Like I forgot some things when I was coming from the United States. I forgot my iPhone that possessed so many important information about me, or for me. I forgot so many things that I thought I should have brought. So that could be one of the discovery of some of the problems I faced as a result of the war. And I shouldn't be taken lightly, please.
Well, that's why I'm not, because I'm noticing it and I'm asking you this question. Okay. Another thing, I notice the feeling I'm getting from you during the time of the war, for example. Did you observe any gross violations of human rights while you served with the MPFL as a commander?
That is obvious, sir. That is obvious.
All right. Did any of these violations you think were committed by people that served under you?
Well, violations, like I told you, that is obvious. I wouldn't think that was committed by people served under me. Okay. But it would be if I know. Mm-hmm. At a certain point in time, people will come to me and say, this soldier you have here took my food. And we'll have to go into that. He went and took the fish we had. That's the last we can eat. Mm-hmm. All right? Mm-hmm. That in itself is a violation. And I remember fighters from the front line, some fighters would burn houses and the news would come. And some fighters would take everybody's property, the news would come. Some fighters would do worse than that and the news would come. Okay. So violation as it relates to what it was during the war, it was obvious and it was common for us to see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you admit then that many of the people that could have been under your command could have committed violation without you clearly being aware or remembering it.
I told you here, that's not something I'm going to tell you and that I don't remember. I remember telling you that the possibility of violence or wrongdoing being done to people could have also been done by people that were around me. But no one came to confront me on these issues. That's a possibility that you cannot erase. It's possible that they could have done those or something, but nobody did come to me, so I wouldn't know. So and I thought, excuse me, and I thought if they did, somebody must just have to come and say, hey, one of these boys with you did so thing, and I would know.
Well, at this point, people are coming forward and telling us these things about you and your men, and we are trying to understand, because the TRC is not a court. We're not accusing you or judging you of any wrong. We're just trying to understand so that we can see how we can heal this nation and prepare for a new Liberia. I notice you're a songwriter. You sing in many songs that talk about your war experiences, the experiences that are very delicate. So it means that you do have a good memory to some point, in the sense that you can put some of these things into song. But the details that are concerning us right now, you seem to be forgetting a lot of it. So that's a concern of mine also, whether this is a deliberate issue or whether it's just some psychological stress problem that you're suffering with. That's why I'm asking you these questions.
First of all, sir, let's talk about the songs. You don't have to be even a fighter or to be a part of the war to write songs that has to do with denouncing violence.
Well, one of them you said...
I will stay in the air, sir. Once you generally look at the situation, you could write a song. But mine could be said that way. But it's not that I remember a particular thing that I did or that I know somebody did. And that I do remember and I'm trying to deny, and I wrote a song about it. To tell you the truth, Honorable Commissioner, everything I say to you here today, I say it from my heart. I'm not denying anything that I know of. What I don't know is what I'm telling you I don't know. And I did not come here to put up a defense mechanism. It's just unfortunate that Honorable Stewart had to bring up those issues, and we had to talk about it and the way he presented it. And I thought I have to come up the way he came so that we can all understand and draw the line. Other than that, I came here. My coming here is to clearly tell you my role and to tell you what I feel about my role and generally what it is and the way forward that I could also recommend as an individual. But until he brought up those issues, I was not even going to talk about it. So I didn't come here with a premeditated notion to come and deny everything that I know of. No, sir.
Okay. Then we do have one, we heard one testimony once about where you were accused of a human rights violation, including one witness that mentioned you ordered the killing of her son. And this was in Buchanan, during the Buchanan hearing. I think you remember the lady, Madam Tuan Swe?
No, I wasn't there. I didn't hear about it.
Okay.
I left, maybe I left before she came up. I was there when Maya Kemun came with his testimony.
Okay.
I only remember Maya Kemun. I don't remember, but I saw the paper, Tonsua.
But so, then would you like to comment on that lady's testimony? Do you deny that you had anything to do with the ordering of the killing of her son?
I don't even know where she's talking about, where it happened and what time, but what one of the commissioners told me was, she said, I accused her son of being an MPF fighter, and based upon that he was killed. I ordered his killing, and generally I said I did not partake in the killing of anyone at any time, even before talking about ordering the raping of anyone before the person died. And then I also suggested that if you say, according to Commissioner Stewart, that I did those things and I carried on a cover-up mechanism, then it's an easier thing. The international community endorsed this institution a whole lot. And I believe they can help to get to the bottom of some of the stories. If I did kill anyone, like the girl who, according to Davies, was raped and she died, one good thing he left that make it good for me, he didn't say the body was eating. She was buried. So if she has parents, the mother is dead. I understand she went to the TRC and said the story was false. So you could dig up the body, look at the bone, do a DNA, and see what actually the thing happened, because I'm getting story that there was no even anyone as such with that name that belonged to the family. Those are some of the things you can do. You will save the day for you and I to know whether I'm lying or I'm saying the truth. Because right now, if you preempt I'm lying, then you're not going to say anything, you're not going to understand anything I'm saying here today. I know you know a lot to do so that you can find out whether someone is lying or not.
Okay, so technically you're saying that maybe with regard to Madam Swear, her child could not have been killed, or what? I was wondering why you're giving that correlation.
No,
You just denied
that was a separate thing, and I'm also trying to get up with that.
All right. No,
I
okay,
don't
thank
want
you.
to say, I'm saying that if she was killed, if her son was ever killed, then she mistaken me for someone else. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, I don't know about it. I don't even remember her, and I don't know about going to capture any town and then looking for LPC fighter and killing anyone or ordering the killing of anyone. That was the reason why I said I never killed a fly.
Okay, thank you. I noticed another thing when you were giving your testimony, you talked about how you liked radio operation. You want to be a radio operator?
I said I was a radio operator.
Okay. And I noticed in some of your songs you also talk about that my living I am looking for. So
yes.
you are concerned about, looking for your living.
Yeah.
So could you share with us what kind of living did you gain during that time, or did you inherit from your experience that you felt so inspired to write about?
It's so interesting, sir, because music is being understood by the person who listens to it, and you draw your own interpretation from that. So
that's why I want your interpretation.
No, you're asking me for your interpretation.
No,
so.
I have a different one, but I want you. You're the writer. I want to know, what did you mean by that?
Well, when I say that my living I'm looking for, I was not talking to myself actually. Although I put myself in the picture and said, in the Bassa version, I say, Dearboy, I will continue to sing and don't get annoyed with my voice because I'm looking for my living. So I was not looking for living during the time of the war, but I needed to live, to survive, because they had already done all kinds of things to me, and I could not allow myself to be killed because they say I'm an AWOL soldier. If they had not killed me personally, they would have taken me at the front line. So going to Sultan to sit down there, I thought it was a safe haven for me. During the time I was there, people from Sultan, I don't know anybody from Sultan ever came and gave you a testimony, say why Sundaygar or Michael was in Sultan, he did this to us. Or while he was in Payue town, he did this to us. I don't think anybody came. If anybody did, well, I don't know. But the living I'm looking for is, I'm singing, and singing is what I survive on. And everybody wants to live in my song. Even the crazy people, if you ask them, they will tell you they don't want to die. Because to breathe is important. And as long as you have breath, whether you are a poverty champion, you still want to continue with life. So to live is important. That's what I meant. It was not because of the war and maybe I went there and want to loot or want to take something from there, so I was looking for living. My song was talking about a livelihood, day-to-day activities in a refined manner.
Okay, so I assume it's a similar thing when you talked about you deal with me, I would deal with you. Those statements you made in another one of the songs too.
Well, I don't know about any song as such that you deal with me, I would deal with you, unless you refer me to what song you're talking about.
Okay, thank you. You don't remember that. All right, I understand you have a memory situation.
Thank you.
Okay, next, did you ever have an encounter during your time with MPFL with the LPC forces?
Well, generally, the MPFL had an encounter with the LPC forces, and I explained that is when the MPFL was in Grand Bassa, and when I was in Sultan, Sultan was not a frontline area. That was a route that business people used from Riverside area and go to Bassa County, because the commercial area was in Bassa County. So everybody went there. My only encounter with the LPC was when the fighters started to retreat from the heavy force of the LPC, and everybody decided to go to Bassa County. So the rule of infrastructure reality was applied. What affects one directly affects another indirectly. So we all started to run. All right. So wherever I was sitting down there, and I was just minding my business, everybody had to escape, and I had to escape because I couldn't sit there anymore. So that was my encounter. And then when we came back, it was also an encounter because the NPFL was always fighting the LPC, so as to gain control of the area until we went to Grand Bassa County.
What time was that when you had this encounter? What year was that?
Precisely what kind of encounter?
The Suang Town issue where you just said
the Sultan issue?
Yeah, when the people
when
came.
When NPFL were retreating?
Yeah, everybody ran. You had to
I'll
run.
tell you again, I don't know exactly what month it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 93. 93, late 93. I remember that.
Okay, so you were already a member of the MPFL by then.
Yes, I was already a member of the MPFL, beginning with Sultan, sitting there.
You were already a member. So
Yeah.
then in essence, by running away, that's what they meant by AWOL. You escaped instead of fighting.
No, that's not what they meant by AWOL.
What was the meaning of the AWOL?
And the AWOL, running away, is a relative understanding. But AWOL is absent with all leave. That is, if they thought that you were on duty and you abandoned your duty, and then you went somewhere and then you did not go back to your duty, then you were absent with all leave. I didn't go through any military training to know what actually it meant, but that's my literal understanding about it. So if they saw you as an officer or a soldier and they knew you were somewhere assigned, and then you are not there anymore, and then you start to be somewhere else, they call you an AWOL soldier. But my situation was as such that I explained to you, I don't know, you were here earlier on.
Yes, I heard.
Okay, and you know how they considered me an AWOL because they saw me with General Gonda in Compound 3.
What time was that?
Compound 3 was in 92. I remember coming back late 92.
Okay, so that was the second event where you were already with the MPFL.
That was the
as
first
soldier.
event. If you do remember, then you should know it was the first event, sir.
So you were with them already at that time?
No, sir.
Oh, so you remember specifically 92 you weren't with them. What month of 92 was that you remember you were not with them?
I told you when I came from Ivory Coast, I went to Grand Bassa County to find the girl, and I was, when her boyfriend friends came and got me out of the house.
What month was that?
That was in 92, that's all, I don't know the month, but I was in late 92, I can remember that. And when Regino Balloon asked me to be with him so that the soldier would not beat me up and do any wrong thing to me, it was at that time. And that based on the interaction between Regino and I, talking and lecturing, he actually knew the kind of guy I was, and he started asking me to write papers for his soldiers, and I stayed there for 3 months with my girlfriend, and then we left. So basically, when they saw me at the compound, they thought I was already a soldier. So when I went to make my farm, and I was surviving on my farm and doing a little business, when they considered me an AWOL soldier, and I had to suffer in the scars I show you, that how come I became a part because I did not want the villager to scare me, and I did not want them to send me on the front line. I didn't want a reoccurrence of what they did to me. Now how come I talked to Winston to send me to Sultan? So that was the first time I was with them in Sultan. But I thought you remember.
And then in Sultan, you ran away from your post when everybody...
I did not run away from my post. Everybody ran away. So if it has to do with running away, then all the generals ran away, including me.
So it was a general retreat then?
Yes, you can call it that.
Okay, I understand. All right. Do you remember in your stay with MPFL ever seeing directly, indirectly, or being involved directly, indirectly, of forcing someone to join the MPFL as you were forced to join them?
Well, the only experience I had was, as it relates to force, was when I was forced to join and I went to Sultan. Other than that, everything else was running away because I didn't have the opportunity to go to where they were forcing people. I know they actually were forcing people, but I didn't go anywhere to see them forcing people, so I can't admit to that. But I know it did happen because I'm a living testimony.
So during your 5 years, you had no experience of ever forcing any person, young child or whatever, to join the MPFL?
I didn't force anyone. People may have done, but I didn't see them forcing anyone, with the exception when I was forced. And the places I was, I didn't have the opportunity of seeing people being forced. But I believe that people did. I mean, people were forced to join.
Okay, another concern is, you mentioned that you were never trained officially by MPFL. But did you ever hold a weapon while you were with MPFL during the period of 1990?
Holding a weapon is a prerequisite of being a part of the revolution.
Okay.
So you cannot rule that out. Whether you fought or not, you just have to hold a weapon one way or the other. Even whether you shoot the weapon or not.
Which weapon did you hold during that time?
Normally, all the weapons that was around was AK-47. So holding it, you can't go and say, they say you will be here controlling 5, 6, 7 soldiers, and you go there with sticks.
Okay, so you were a commander on the ground with several men whose lives depended on your knowledge, your skill, your understanding of military tactics. You had an AK-47, which is not a very simple weapon for anybody to use. Did you eventually learn how to use that weapon?
Eventually.
Or you held it all those 5 years?
The AK-47 weapon was not a weapon that you have to learn because it was a revolution that you have to go through some basic training to learn. And as much as you were taught how to take a weapon from unsafe and taught how to put your hand in the trigger and pull the trigger, the gun is automatically going to fire. So I didn't go through any formal training to be a sniper or to be, a hitman or stuff. But I did eventually learn how to shoot the AK-47, though it was not shot at the war front, and then I use it at a battlefront. I would like to clarify that, but I actually learned how to shoot it.
Okay, so now you are changing your statement. So at least we understand that you did get some training to be able to use the weapon and to do other military tactics for the position that you held as a commander.
Well, if that is why you call it training, then I don't know, but because I thought a training would be you go through a formal exercise of going through like the military do, because they had training bases before those times. So people went there and went through some basic training and had to be militants and all of that. But unlike me, that was not in the case. So it cannot be considered changing statement, because I consider training to be something that you formally have to go through. So if I was forced and I went somewhere and somebody said, boss man, this is how the gun can be shot and all of that, and if you call it a training, then so be it. But my own definition of training was not the way you are looking at it to be.
Okay, I understand your definition.
And I understand the way you define it to me too as well.
Okay, those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Are you true, sir?
Yes, for now.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Witness, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
And thank you for coming.
Welcome, sir.
I will ask one or two very basic questions.
Yes, sir.
Just for confirmation and to understand your role.
Yes, sir.
You confirm being with the MPFL for 4 years.
All right.
Is that confirmed?
Well,
From 92 to 96.
I was not calculating. I said from early 93 or late 92. So I told you I was not very precise.
And you disassociated in 96.
Yeah, because if you said late 92, that would be around November, December, or January or February of 93. So you can draw your calculation from there. But I told you I don't actually remember, but it was between 92 and 93.
During that period, you had the position of MP commander and radio operator.
Yes, sir.
And then, did you hold any other position besides those two positions?
Well, I don't think I did.
You don't think you did?
I didn't hold any position.
As a radio operator, were you prior to then formally trained as a radio operator?
As a radio operator, precisely you have to go through the coding process. And Prince Moses, who was the commander for the radio, they showed me how to go through the coding process in alphabetical order. And that I can tell you, I went through that for like a week or two. So because you cannot be, the radio operation is not hello, yes, how you doing? So if a man wants to call a certain name and doesn't want anybody to know about it, he has a name for that. So you definitely have to know how to respond to it. So with that, basically, yes, a friend of mine who was the operator of the radio, Prince Moses, and when I was interested in it, he actually taught me how to do it.
So you are a trained radio operator?
Yes.
Prince Moses, a member of the MPFL?
Yes, he was.
So you were trained by the MPFL?
Yeah, but Moses, yes.
Did you, at any point in time during the period we are considering, work with the NPA, the Freeport of Monrovia?
Yes, I work with the NPA.
What was your position then?
I worked with the NPA. First, I served in the, because I worked with the security, I served in the intelligence department. And then later on, I went to the filling station. At the filling station, And when I got out of the filling station, they sent me in the radio room with other radio operators. And then we were all there as radio operators. And then later on, I became the boss for them. So I was in the radio room with the MPFA radio operators.
At the MPA?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what year was that?
That was 98.
1998.
Yeah.
And you said you were with the security section. Who was the head of security there?
The head of security was, the director of the security was Roland Duo.
Roland Duo.
Yes, sir.
Was he a member of the MPFL?
Yes, he was a member of the MPFL.
Okay. Did you hold a rank while you served the MPFL between 92 and 96?
I was not commissioned to hold a rank, but I gave myself rank because I had to give myself rank. That's the only way. First of all, let me let you know this. In the MPFL, nobody will respect you until you have rank. And you pass it around, you say you captain, one label will call himself colonel. So unless you say you are colonel, and then he will see you and say, oh yes sir. So I gave myself a rank of a colonel because I was not even giving you a position at the time. They only served me there as a commander, and that was it. So I was not commissioned. It was not a structured and organized institution where you would be commissioned in certain areas. People who were given those positions, like the colonel rank, were actually commissioned. They were there. But way in the bush there, and you sit on there and you say, you sign, somebody come and say, my man, I major. And he will beat you up. So the only way you can find your way, or you call yourself a colonel. So I was not given a rank by them, but I thought for the way I look, I deserved being a colonel at the time.
So you were a commander with the rank of colonel.
Yeah.
And in that structure, in that situation, the person higher than you was a general.
Sure.
So who were your immediate
well, there were
officers?
several commanders. And I was actually dealing with Winston C. Because Winston C. was controlling the MP battalion. So at that era it was just a detachment or a unit under Winston C. who was a battalion commander until when Nathaniel Zoga later on took over as the provost marshal general, and then I was still within my position.
So Nathaniel Zoga replaced
Winston C. Yes, actually he did.
And as radio operator, who was your superior
Prince
officer?
Moses.
The same Moses who trained you?
Yeah.
Did you at any point in time wear a uniform?
No.
You didn't. You had up to 9 men in your unit.
Yeah, at the time, in Shrewtown.
Were they all armed?
No. To places like the crossing point, they will have the one arm, and then they will give the commander the one arm, and then one more person will have the one arm. So you cannot have about 9 weapons given to everybody, sometimes 3. So all of them were not armed.
So only 2 were armed?
Maybe 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
Yeah, including that of what I had.
That is clear. You said you were MP commander?
Yeah.
And part of your responsibility was to discipline soldiers who went out of the way.
Yeah.
Can you recall at any point in time you had to discipline your men or any other soldiers reported to you?
Well, basically because there were times that soldiers would go and take people's food. They would even kill people's dog on the towns and villages because they were calm in those areas relatively, we can put it that way. People were going about their normal business, making farm, selling the markets, and but all of a sudden somebody will come and say, hey, I had a meat on the dryer and this soldier went and took it. So obviously what you need to do is you either make him to pay, or if you have the money you pay, and then the next thing you can do is to either put him in jail, and the only jail that was available was either put him in the kitchen and he stays there, and after some time you talk to the people. I don't know if they actually agree to say yes, but they will agree, and then later on they will come back to you. Look, I appreciate the fact you were able to come to me and say sorry, and you were able to give this back. Other people wouldn't have, and and stuff like that. So that is obvious. the whole situation in the war, it was not like living as an angel. There were times that people felt bad with the soldiers' attitude, and then we had to talk to them. So,
So the only attitudes you can recall being reported to you or you investigating were cases where they killed dog or they took somebody
were
from.
minor offensive, I can tell you, were minor offensive.
I didn't get that part.
What I mean, minor offensive, or where soldier
Oh,
came.
minor offenses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like killing dog and taking
Yeah,
raw food.
and sometimes the soldier will slap somebody, I can tell you that. And people will come and lodge that complaint, and you have to deal with it. And where you have fighters, the issue of people being hurt cannot be erased. So that I can come here and tell you that none of those things happen. It can be true. But dealing with the situation that I'm here right now is what I don't really know about.
So in the whole Diesel town, Sioux town, Badwa, Badwa you operated, the only kind of crimes reported were just minor offenses.
Yeah, sure. In Sioux town, Diesel town, PUA town.
PUA town as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. One last question.
Yes, sir.
There was a time when some people, including the witness
Yes,
who
sir.
first testified at TRC, tried to recount their testimonies, and they came in town and they went to almost all the radio stations and they spent hours hosting talk shows and all of that. During that period, can you at any point in time recall driving some of those people to the Sky FM where they have the 50-50 talk show?
No,
in
sir.
You have never taken any of them
No,
there?
so I don't want you to go further because I don't remember any time driving anybody to King's FM or whatever FM that you were to talk about.
What's about making arrangement for the talk show? Did you at any time do on their behalf?
I didn't make no arrangement for no talk show. One thing I should let you know, I was surprised when I heard the news. I know almost all of the journalists in this country, including T-Max. So if I went to T-Max and maybe he called me on certain issues, and I went to T-Max and said, hey, T-Max, hello, what did you call me? And he and I discussed, and somebody said, hey, because right after the people talk, I heard the Sky FM saying that they saw me before the people could come and talk. I heard that very well. But what it meant by saw me before, whether I went there to make an arrangement or I didn't go to make an arrangement, it was kind of funny because they were looking at me as a close possibility of being a part of it. So, Honorable Vodia, if you went in the bathroom to take a shower and left your door ajar, that is almost open, and someone came in and said, hello, Councilor Vodia, and you recognize that voice. And the person said, since you're not here, I'm going. And the person left, and you came out of the bathroom and discovered that your wallet with $100 is in it and it's missing. Maybe the only close suspect you have is the man whose voice you heard. But it's also possible that someone could have come in, saw the door open, and did not speak to you while you were in the bathroom and took your money. But the first person you're going to run to is that person. So the fact that somebody saw me, I don't want to deny. I went to meet T-Max that morning. All right, on the Circum issue, because I work as a promoter for Circum, and I didn't see T-Max, and then I left. I don't know if people were going there, and I didn't drive anybody in my car. And the fact that I made to this, I could say here and say that lie. But the fact I made to it to also tell you that I didn't have any intention of such.
So it was just a coincidence that you were there that day?
It was coincidental.
Okay.
So if the journalists did see me there, I could have said, no, nobody saw me there. I didn't go there. But what I'm telling you today, I'm not perfect, but part of me is excellent. It is the excellent part that I'm showing you today at this hearing. I'm not going to lie about anything. So the fact that I was there talking to somebody or going to talk to somebody, and somebody come out, I just feel that it's very unprofessional on the part of the journalist who reported that we saw Sundaygar going to make arrangement. That was the same thing the journalist reported. I put babies in the well. The journalist reported, I'm not, just recently when I came, it was in the paper that a perpetrator at large. political musician Sundaygar Dearboy refused to comply with TRC hearing. When you called me, the Songwriter chairman, time. Let me just clarify this. And you, Commissioner Volio, said it was not time for me to speak. And I waited for about a week plus, and I had to leave the country. I didn't notify you because I thought you were not ready for me. And if you were ready, you were going to call me. Because you got my email, you got the address that I have in the United States. I gave it to your people, the inquiry unit. You got my phone number in America. So I thought if you had a letter where you went to my house and you didn't see me, you would have just emailed me the letter or give me a call and I was going to address it. I have not been non-cooperative to this process. I've gone beyond my own limit of being cooperating to this process. I've come to you and I've talked to you. I tell you, look, here am I, we can talk anytime. But then I saw my name in the paper that TRC released a list of people at large. Political musician refused. And I just felt it was just unfair to me. And still it is going on, sir. So maybe because I'm a public figure, people can make money out of me. So the newspaper will just take issue and blow it up. We saw Dearboy at the time. So honestly, maybe that's why they said they saw me. And I must tell you that I was there. But that wasn't the reason why I went there. And if I don't admit to you and say I wasn't there, you still perceive that I was actually there for that purpose.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Concerned area.
I didn't get that part, sir.
I'm just concerned about one more area in your particular case.
Yes, sir.
First of all, we have a situation where the TRC's responsibility is to try to promote reconciliation, healing,
Yes, sir.
and the rebuilding of our society.
Yes, sir.
But this thing about reconciliation is a very delicate thing. It can only take place under certain conditions.
Yes, sir.
And one of the key conditions for reconciliation to take place is for truth to be told,
Yes.
or confession
Yes.
dealing with the particular incident.
Yes.
In the lacking of this, reconciliation is not possible. Now, in the act, we've been given certain factors to help. Number
Yes, sir.
one, we have something called immunity, meaning if people have been accused
Yes,
of
sir.
anything, and they are given the opportunity to the TRC to confess
Yes, sir.
or talk openly about what they did, then anything they bring up, anything they say is protected.
Yes, sir.
Meaning nobody in this country can carry them to court
Yes,
based
sir.
on the issues that they publicly express to
Yes,
the
sir.
TRC.
I understand.
So this is the immunity protection that you would gain.
All right.
But where there is a complete situation of denial, then of course this immunity doesn't protect you anymore.
All right.
And since we are not a court, our job is not to judge you per se.
Yeah.
We can only recommend,
Yeah.
judgment or prosecution.
Yes.
But we are only to try to understand and provide a forum and an opportunity for this to take place.
Yes, sir.
In your unique case, we have taken statements all over this country. Over
Yes.
18,000 Liberians have told us what has happened during the war.
Yes, sir.
And naturally, we cannot assume that these 18,000 people are telling falsehood.
Yeah.
We put them in the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
that they are telling the truth to a certain degree. Of course, we have our way of checking to make sure that there's not a gross expression of blatant lies and accusations across the board.
Sure.
So in your particular case, we have over the minimum margin, because we have set a margin of cases that would allow us to consider somebody a possible or alleged perpetrator.
Yeah.
And you have in excess of that number on your file.
Uh-huh.
And this is why we called you, and that's many of the people who are on that list. We're calling